Welcome to the Power Lunch Podcast, your midday dose of boldness, brilliance, and a little bit of badassery. I'm Amy Souza, here with my powerhouse co hosts, Tracy Muntz and Lisa Carmichael, and we're coming in hot to shake things up. Each week, we dish out bite sized, high impact conversations on business, health, purpose, wealth, and the wild, beautiful chaos in between. Whether you're building your dream, rebooting your story, or just catching your breath, this is your space to get grounded, inspired, and reignited. This isn't just another podcast, it's your power move. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Power Lunch Podcast, where we gather as women to have the conversations that actually move the needle in our lives and in our businesses. Today's conversation is about something that most women were never taught, but absolutely must master if they want freedom, impact, and legacy, and that is financial power. Not hustle, not revenue bragging, not just making money, but understanding it, owning it, leading from it. Our guest today, Carrie Cook, is a financial strategist, entrepreneur, and founder of Sovereign Wealth, a movement rooted in financial power for women business owners. She blends bookkeeping, profit strategy, and CFO level insight with a deep understanding of money mindset and leadership. And here's the truth. So many women start businesses with vision and passion, but without the financial literacy to sustain them. Today, we're changing that. Carrie, I'm so excited to dive into this conversation with you. We have Lisa here today. Unfortunately, Amy is not with us. So we are going to bombard you with so many questions. And the first one I have is you say rooted in financial power. Love that. What does financial power actually feel like in a woman's body?
Well, first, let me say thank you for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you. And this subject matter, of course, is as passionate as I could ever get. Rooted in financial power means that you have a complete understanding of how your money is working for you. You have command of your money. That means that from a tender age of 50 or 40, you actually try to understand what was in front of you, what the obstacles were, leave the old history behind, the things that your parents taught you, the things that your community taught you, and actually embrace your situation so that you had command over your situation. Financial power means that you have you have an understanding of what choice means, that you are choosing to do something and not forced to do something from fear.
So, financial power, how does that tie together with financial systems?
Systems are what you create to develop the power. Systems are something that comes after you recognize that there's a problem, that you need a new solution, and you develop systems for that. Profit is a decision, profit is a formula. And we all have that option to go forward with that formula or continue to put our head in the ground. Formula is fantastic.
So, profit is a decision. So, I've made a decision not to make money.
You made a decision not to make money. Let me tell you what that means.
Let's hear it.
The woman that you know who says, "Oh, I don't pay myself. I let the company take in all the money and I take what's left." That's a decision. A decision to buy something sparkly instead of holding it off and putting it into a savings. That's a system. That's a decision. That's power. That's choice. Um, Understanding what your money is, understanding what your financial roadmap is becomes imperative when you are dealing with your money.
I liked what you said about the being able to choose rather than being forced to. And I often think of financial freedom, and freedom is not automatic,
No.
right? And the freedom comes, I love that. I always, when I'm looking at, long term, like what does financial freedom look like? I think of my grandson, and you had grandbabies as well, and offering them the freedom to make choices based on what their wants are versus making choices based on the immediate need. So I love that. What was the money story you personally Like, back up just a little bit because have you always had this financial literacy? Where did this all begin for you? And what steps did had to happen in your life to get to a place where you can now feel like you're financially powerful?
I had a pretty good business that failed 20 years ago. And in that failure, I learned so much. I recognized in myself that I did not have a financial education. I had passion and I had grit and I had fortitude, but I didn't understand money. And passion and grit and fortitude are not going to pay the bills. And when my business failed, I mourned for a very long time, but then I got up and I went to school to figure out what had happened. What did I miss? And you wouldn't believe how much we didn't get as people growing up, as teenagers, working our first job. Money isn't talked about in old families. Money is hidden. Money is something we are not ashamed of, but ashamed to talk about. And when you keep things in the closet like that, what does Brene Brown say? Shame just lives there. So one of the things that I had to overcome was my family history, my family story about hiding money and being quiet about it and not talking about it. I had to start to understand what it meant. I had to understand what every dime meant and the choices that I was making, the choice to solve my needs versus the business needs and making that hard choice. It's a hard choice when you grow up in the 70s and you want everything that Calvin Klein is selling, right? And credit suddenly comes into the world and all of America is living on credit. Well, we can't sustain our lives that way. We can't sustain our businesses that way on credit. So we all had to stop and recognize that the choices that we're making are just detrimental to our businesses and we have to change. And that was my pivotal time. Didn't happen overnight. It took a few years, but I started to recognize that, hey, the decisions that I'm currently making are getting me into trouble. This is no way to live a long life.
So, in a business, when you go into a business and you're working with women entrepreneurs, is that the first thing you see is that they're making choices on how they want to live versus how the business wants to live? And how do you scale that back? Because when businesses are rolling, that can be a little bit of a challenge.
Well, what's interesting, Tracy, is that you can see the smartest women on the block, doctors and lawyers who are living with their business accounts and their personal accounts commingled. And they just pay from one to the next. And you can see that immediately in their books. You It takes a long time to break those habits. It usually costs a lot in taxes to break those habits. It's hard for someone who takes money whenever they want to from their business to suddenly go on to a salary and try and live within a blueprint of a budget. So I see it immediately. I understand what's going to happen if we continue to do this behavior, and I talk to them about it. It's not an easy sell because women have been, um, I hate to generalize this, but I'm going to. Women get what they want. And when you want something, you in general find a way to buy it.
Carrie, don't you think it's all about identity?
Yes.
That
100%.
people buy things to make themselves feel better because they want to identify as someone probably that they're not.
That they are hoping to be. Yeah,
Okay.
I do 100%.
And even, when we talk about identity and confidence, when you lost your business, I mean that's such a shift in your identity. It's like, what did I do wrong? How can I learn from this? And we have to remember that everything is a learning lesson instead of being so hard on ourselves.
One of the things that I discovered about this journey was that when I owned that business, I had passion and grit. I was living on passion. I was breathing passion. Passion is not business. Business is business. And if you can separate that, you're going to have a win or more likely have a win. Um, it's a tool that you have to understand to be successful.
Isn't that the biggest difference between men and women? Yeah. Women emotionally attach themselves to every decision that they make.
We waste here. It's core to have our too. Yeah, we do. It's core to who we are.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we second guess everything.
Yeah.
If you put your price out there for your product, we justify every piece of it versus a man goes with his gut.
They do.
Yeah.
So that's part of the profit strategy. When you think about your nail tech and how much money you give your nail tech every time you go see your nail tech, do you think that let's call it $50 was equivalent to your $50 of service? How much time and energy have you put into developing your business? And then when you think about it, you pay for the 4 year or the 8 year degree and you develop all this business acumen, and then you're charging $35 an hour for what you do. That hardly seems right. So you really have to figure out what your value is.
You were talking a little bit about the woman, the that they have an identity wrapped around their financial or their business. And one of the things that I've been really exploring lately is that in personal development, we're almost taught um, to act as if until it happens, right? And the problem with that becomes is when we are, especially business owners, so you made a comment about this, and I've seen this in myself and I've seen it in other business entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs in the spaces that I hold, that they want to be something that they're quite not there yet. And they'll commit to things that maybe financially they can't commit to, but everybody around them is saying, "Oh, I was actually just having this conversation with a friend yesterday. Oh, you know what? Money is energy. Money is, like, oh, just, what? If you want to find the money will appear." That type of coaching and really what's going on in the personal development world isn't isn't sustainable for the woman business owner, but we get so wrapped up in it. How does mindset actually play a role in our profitability or our business financial stability? And how do we balance that knowing money is energy? And I believe that money is energy, and how we put things out into the world is how it's going to be received. You work a lot with the business mindset part of the entrepreneur. How does that show up for you?
That is such a loaded question. Thank you for asking me that.
Yes.
Let's start with money mindset in general. Money mindset starts when we are born and our first experiences in our world. We could be 2 or 3 years old, and it's our first experience with a penny or a nickel or a dime. And that messaging around that receipt starts to shape how we look at money. And as we grow, 7 or 8, the money changes. Our first tooth, we lose our first tooth and we get a dollar under our pillow or whatever. That is the behavior around that suddenly becomes the behavior you embrace. And as we go into getting our first job, remember your very first paycheck and what you were going to do with it. There was no saving, you were spending it. So we come with a mindset that needs to really shift. When you look at business and a successful business, you're looking at strategy mostly, and you're looking at conditioning. You are conditioned to say, I have $6,000 for marketing. I do not have 6,001. I need to make a decision. How do I want to spend this money? And if you're diligent about your choices, your plan succeeds. If you start carving spaces in your budget or your blueprint for, oh, but I want this and I want that, that's when you are stealing from other areas of your business, and those areas are going to fail. So it's really imperative that you recognize what you're bringing into the business. If you're bringing in a scarcity mindset and you're hoarding everything, your business is not going to flourish. You have to reinvest money into your business. That's part of the profit strategy. And if you are of a mind of abundance, you will always find a way to do the things that you need to on a pretty thin budget. So um, again, it comes down to the things that you learn and the things that you're willing to unlearn and leave behind.
Right. It brings me to when you were talking, I think about the strategy that so many parents have about allowances. If you do this, I give you this. Well, if you do this, I give you this. But then once I give you this, then how do we help with that? And also, if you work harder, you get more money. And that's not necessarily truth either, because, you have to work hard for your money is such a mindset messery that it's not necessary. we have hard workers out there that are not making money. We have it's I personally think that, especially in business, I ask this a lot. What value am I offering? And how can I increase the value that I'm offering you? And in that value, then I can feel confident in asking for what, and I'm air quoting worth, because that's a whole different question about, what are you worthy of or receiving and things like that. So
Value is huge. Carrie, I have a question for you. What do you feel women are undercharging for right now in 2026?
I want you to clarify that. Are you talking about small business entrepreneurs?
Yes.
Okay.
Our listeners are the small business
I have
female entrepreneur. Mhm.
I have service providers and product providers. My product providers are chained to an old way of thinking where there's a very limited amount of profit per item. And it's based on, history, but they wouldn't think about selling a bottle of shampoo for more than a 50% upgrade. Well, in today's economy, you can't make a living that way. There's so much that has to be covered in the cost of doing business that 50% increase isn't going to pay your bills. So we have to think differently. And it's really a challenge to get women to think more because we all think about the other people and say, oh, I can't charge them that. Nurses are particularly hard to transform because they're huge caregivers, and when they start to offer services to the community, they are unwilling to actually charge their worth because they think that their clients can't pay for that. Well, the truth of the matter is, if you want a service, you will pay the price for that service. Um, as far as service is concerned, people like myself who do profit strategies, this is the bottom line. I know how long this product is going to take me to provide to you. I know how much it's going to cost you emotionally. I'm prepared for those middle of the night phone calls. And all of that is wrapped into my value to you, and what I need to charge you in order to get to the end game so that I'm helping you.
Right. And what happens is the right customer, the right client will be attracted to you because they're willing to pay for the service that you provide. Because if they go for a lesser price versus what your knowledge is, they're going to be stuck.
Right. So, and there's, thank you for bringing this up. I look at myself and I think, who am I to a client? And I'll tell you who I am. I have a personal relationship with them. They cry on me. They call me in the middle of the night. They tell me about their need to be on the bankruptcy train to hell. And I am there for them. If you went to another organization who does kind of what I do, you're not getting that. You're getting a profit strategy, point blank, cold ice. And so there's a difference. My value increases because of my personal relationships with others, and people are willing to pay for that.
I also, just on that, I think, first off, well done, because there isn't that happening in the financial world, and I think that that's what holds people up, that fear of the having to disclose some information that, that is, it's challenging. It's hard to talk about money. I mean, you and I have had many conversations about money that has ended with me in tears and you saying, "Yeah, okay." And not seeing, I'm a fixer, I'm a solution finder. And when I have found myself in financial struggles and I don't know how to fix it, I become very emotional about it. But one of the things that you were saying is, what I heard you saying is, your worth,
I do.
what you're worth. And also, the other thing that I find fascinating is that we base our, our cost, what we're going to charge somebody based on what our beliefs are. I don't know if like my clients can't afford this. Well, how do you know? Have you asked them? How do you know that are you only going for those clients that can't afford you? So it's all knowing, so that reassurance, that belief in what value you offer. And that takes time. I'm going to be honest. I don't think that if you're coming out of the gate thinking that you're a bag of Doritos, you got something like, that's not truth, right? Like what it, the experience, the education you have, the emotional maturity that you have, those things add to your value. And that takes time and that takes being educated. It takes experience, right?
It does. It really does. Um, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do the job I'm doing today because I didn't have the emotional maturity to back off and be the leader I need to be. I was in the weeds with them, helping them get through whatever it was they were getting through. And today it's very different. Today I'm holding your hand, but I'm helping you get out of the muck. And it's honestly, they feel it. I mean, we feel it.
I've seen you do it. I've seen you in work. So we don't have much time left. And this has been such a fascinating question, and I can't wait for the power luncheon coming up on April 28th, where you can share more of your wisdom on profitability and also on legacy. And we really didn't get into that much today. So I'd love to have you back on a podcast soon to really talk about the legacy, because legacy is about what we're doing today, not what we do when we're gone. But what are you doing right now? Like, tell us a little bit more about. You have a couple of things that you're working on, both in March and there's one in April. And how can we find you? Because I think that our listeners are going to say, "This is exactly what I need. I need somebody to be there to hold my hand and also hand me a tissue if I need it." Right?
I agree with you. Yes. So, again, the name of my company is Sovereign Wealth, and I am available online, both on my website as well as LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I don't really do the social media because it's really not where people are looking for me. They're too ashamed to look for me. They're looking for me on LinkedIn.
You should do TikTok. I'm just saying, hey, you should do TikTok and do like financial, like just like blurbs about. I don't do TikTok, but I think that's it's on shit. Yeah, that would be that. If you were looking at social media, I think TikTok and doing financial blurbs.
Yep.
For women, they eat it up.
Okay.
You have such a gift on that. So.
Well, thank you. So I do have a couple of things coming up. I'm doing a really interesting conference in Las Vegas called Own It. And I'll be speaking about the financial metamorphosis of small business, which is a very interesting subject because as business owners, we start with one bit of knowledge. And it's amazing how through trial and error, we come to something else and we metamorphosize into real business owners with real profit strategies and commitments. And we become very successful. So I'm very excited about that.
I'll just say, I am super excited for you and being on the Own It stage. I have been on the Own It stage. It is energy amplified.
Yeah.
You are going to love all of it. And we're gonna make sure that there's a link for your virtual tickets, that people can get a virtual ticket to that, or they can show up in person. There's some ways to do that too. But I am so excited for you to be on the Own It stage. You're gonna love it.
Like it. Well, the other thing I have is in April, and that would be the Women's Power Luncheon. And it is based in Egan. It's a bunch of wonderful business owners, and I look forward to sharing the stage with the people that I'll be up there with. So I'm going to be on talking about financial leadership and financial legacy. One of the things I like to kind of address to my community is, legacy isn't just about what you're leaving your children. It's what you're doing in your community, and it starts today. So one of the things that I would like to promote is taking a look at the Glass Ceiling Foundation and really becoming an active part of that. I think we do amazing work here in Egan and in the surrounding community, and it's really a sisterhood. I think it would be a really great thing to see more people there.
I love that. Yay. Well, thank you. You know what? I know we don't have a lot of time, but I love rapid fire questions. So okay, this is just for you. Profit or revenue?
Profit,
Cash flow or growth?
cash flow is growth,
Risk or security?
risk,
Sorry. This one is delegation or control. That's it.
oh, delegation,
Legacy or a lifestyle?
legacy.
What is one book every woman business owner should read?
Jesus Christ as the CEO.
I love it. And what is your non-negotiable money habit?
Oh, I do a money ritual every week. I have a candle. I have a scent. I have coins. I have a plant. And I clear my office every single week, start fresh. And I talk to I talk to my little altar and I say, I hope it's a good week. I feel like I'm responsible for money and its growth, and I would like a little help in keeping my mind on that this week.
I love I love the money ritual thing. Thank you. I could sit at your feet every meeting. Thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank you.
Let's go. Let's go.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. If something we shared sparked a new idea, gave you a fresh perspective, or simply made you feel seen, we'd love for you to pass it on. Share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or a fellow powerhouse woman who's walking her own journey. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep rising, and remember, there's no ceiling you can't break through.